An awkward silence fell over the dining room as I continued scrolling through my phone, a faint smile playing on my lips. My sister Cynthia cleared her throat, trying to get everyone's attention. What I mean is some people are cut out for success and others, she said, making a vague gesture toward my daughter Tessa, who was huddled in the corner of her chair with her book. Others find their passion in the service industry. There's nothing wrong with that. My mother nodded enthusiastically. Cynthia's kids are pretty good. Medical school, law school, business school. A doctor, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, all in one family. My brother Brandon chimed in. Tessa's been working at that bookstore for almost 3 years? Shouldn't she be more ambitious at 25? Tessa turned the page without looking up. I watched her intently, as I always do at these family gatherings. I'd learned early on to let their words pass her by. The library pays its own bills, I said quietly, placing my phone upside down on the side table. Cynthia laughed, a sharp laugh that echoed through the room. Hardly, I'm sure. Thank goodness you support it. My 3 sons are completely independent. In fact, they're all interviewing for prestigious jobs next week. Is that true? I asked, raising my wine glass. Yes, top companies are vying for them. The relationships we've built, the communication we've had as parents makes a huge difference. She gave me a meaningful look. Of course, that requires pushing your sons to excel rather than letting them settle for mediocrity. My father joined the conversation, encouraged by the wine. Your problem has always been being too lenient. Children need pressure to succeed. Look at Cynthia's 3 sons, and then look at Tessa. The proof is in the pudding. I took a slow sip of wine. 23 years of hearing this. It's been 23 years since I brought Tessa home as a 2-year-old adoptee, and my family made it clear she wouldn't compare to their biological grandchildren. Tessa seems happy, I said. Happy? Brandon scoffed. Happiness doesn't secure retirement, and it doesn't secure a career. She's 25 and works in retail. She loves books, I said. We all love things, Cynthia said, her voice strained. But grown-ups don't just do what they love. They do what's necessary and profitable. My kids know that. Tessa looked up from her book for a moment, her eyes meeting mine. I gave her a slight nod, and she went back to reading. Speaking of your kids, I said casually, what jobs do they interview for? Cynthia smiled broadly. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this before the offers are finalized, but since we're a family, Brandon Jr. is a candidate for junior partner at Morrison & Partners. Ashley has interviews with 3 different hospitals for residency programs, and Matthew is a candidate for management positions at several tech companies. Impressive, I said. What are they? Oh, several, she replied. The biggest one is an AI company that's been making headlines recently. It's called Quantum or something. Very cutting edge, very exclusive. They seem to only hire the best. I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket, but I didn't reach for it. Quantum Edge Solutions. Cynthia's eyes widened. Yes, the same one. How did you know? Just a good guess, I said, getting up to refill my wine glass. It's been in the tech news lately. Well, Matthew is interviewing for the junior management program. The recruiter said they only accept 5 candidates a year out of thousands of applicants. But with Matthew's MBA and his coaching experience, he's a sure thing. My mother clasped her hands. 3 successful grandchildren. Cynthia, you must be so proud. Absolutely, Cynthia said, then looked back at Tessa. Still, I think we should all be grateful for people who choose simpler paths. Someone has to work in libraries and cafes. The world needs service workers, too. Tessa turned the page and stood up quietly. Excuse me, I'm going to get some fresh air. As she passed my chair, she gently tapped my shoulder. A gesture so small that others probably didn't notice. But I felt its weight, the silent communication we'd perfected over 2 decades. Look, Brandon said as soon as Tessa was gone. She can't even hold a simple conversation at the family dinner table. She's too sensitive, I said quietly. Or maybe she's just tired of being humiliated in her grandmother's dining room. Cynthia's voice rose. Humiliation? We're being honest. Sometimes the truth hurts. You haven't done her any good by shielding her from reality all these years. What reality? That she's not like our children. She doesn't have the drive, the intelligence, the ambition. And that's fine. Really, it is. But you need to adjust your expectations accordingly. I set down my wine glass very carefully. My expectations are perfectly in line with reality. My father leaned forward. Is that so? Because from our perspective, you've spent 23 years making excuses for a child who hasn't reached her full potential. I repeated slowly. Her potential? Tell me, what do you think Tessa's potential is? Honestly, Cynthia exchanged glances with our mother, the service industry, and maybe retail management if she really puts in the effort. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's not pretend it's going to revolutionize the world. My phone buzzed repeatedly. I pulled it out and glanced at the screen. Several new emails, all marked urgent, all from my executive assistant. Work-related trouble? Brandon asked, feigning concern. Just a few orders that need reviewing, I said, scrolling through the messages. On Thanksgiving, my mother said sarcastically. Can't they be postponed? Probably not. These are time-sensitive interviews scheduled for next week. I looked at Cynthia. At Quantum Edge Solutions, actually. Her face paled slightly. Oh, you know someone there? You could say so. I stood up, slipping my phone back into my pocket. Tessa, honey, can you come back inside for a moment? Tessa stepped back through the French doors, her expression carefully neutral. Can you open the company website on your tablet? I asked. I want to show everyone something. She took her tablet out of her bag and handed it to me, a small smile playing on her lips. I opened the Quantum Edge Solutions homepage and turned the tablet toward the family. Great site, I said. So professional, Cynthia. Look at the executive team page. Cynthia leaned forward, staring at the screen. Her face went from pale to green in seconds. That's you, she whispered. The CEO. For 8 years. I founded the company 12 years ago with 2 partners. I scrolled through the page. We went public 3 years ago. It's currently valued at about $4.2 billion. There was complete silence in the room. But you work in technology consulting, Brandon stammered. I own a technology company, I corrected him. Consulting was my side hustle while I was building Quantum. I stopped consulting 6 years ago when we got our Series C funding. My mom's hand trembled as she set down her wine glass. You never said. You never asked, I said. You all assumed that because I work from home and have flexible hours to raise Tessa, I'm doing a small, insignificant job. For $1 billion, my dad whispered. With a margin of error of a few $100 million depending on the market. I sat back down, crossing one leg over the other. We're currently hiring, expanding our junior management program. Tessa mentioned it to me a few months ago after doing some market research. Cynthia's voice came out husky. Market research? Tessa spoke for the first time in an hour, her voice calm and clear. I have an MBA in business analysis from Stanford. I graduated last year. I was working with my mom as a strategic consultant while I was choosing which sector I wanted to focus on. The library, Brandon began but Tessa finished, is owned by a friend who lets me use it as a quiet workspace. I help him sometimes because I enjoy it, but my main job is analyzing market trends and the competitive positioning of Quantum Edge and 2 other tech companies. Did she go to Stanford? My mom's voice was low. On a full scholarship, I said proudly. Based on her undergraduate studies at MIT. She completed her bachelor's degree in 3 years with a double major in computer science and applied mathematics. Tessa shrugged. I loved learning. And I still do. That's why I'm always reading. Cynthia fell silent, her face flushing crimson. Anyway, I continued, pulling out my phone again, about those applications. Tessa brought them to my attention this morning. 3 candidates from the same family, all with impressive qualifications on paper. Brandon Thompson Jr., Ashley Thompson, and Matthew Thompson. Cynthia put her hand to her mouth. The thing is, I said, scrolling through the applications, we do thorough background checks on all candidates. Not just their professional history, but personality assessments too. We interview people who know them, we look at their social media accounts, we study how they interact with others. I looked at Cynthia. Your son's references are excellent. Their qualifications are strong. But there's a problem. What's the problem? Cynthia whispered. Their mother. I put my phone down. As you can see, we discovered during our routine background check that their daughter's mother has a habit of abusing and belittling her niece at family gatherings. The same niece who happens to be the daughter of our chief strategic advisor. The same advisor who will be overseeing anyone we hire for these positions. You can't do that, Cynthia began. You can't what? Can't you refuse to hire people whose mother spent 2 decades mocking my daughter? Can't you protect my employee from working with the children of someone who called her a mediocre loser? Of course I can. Tessa pulled out her phone. I documented tonight's conversation, Mom. Audio only, nothing visual for the file. You recorded us? Brandon looked horrified. I documented a pattern of harassment, Tessa corrected. There's a difference. Our legal team recommended it months ago when we realized the Thompsons might be applying. Legal team? My dad's voice was barely audible. Every major company has a legal team, I said. Our procedures are very thorough. Cynthia composed herself, though her voice trembled. Are you going to ruin my son's careers because of a family feud? I will reject 3 applications from candidates whose family circumstances constitute a conflict of interest, she corrected her. Your children are free to apply anywhere else, but not to a company where they work for someone their mother spent years belittling. Cynthia whispered, that's revenge. Tessa said calmly, no, revenge means barring them from the entire industry. We're just protecting our work environment. Quantum Edge has a zero-tolerance policy for bullying and harassment. We can't enforce that with people who might bring that kind of behavior into our office. My mother interjected pleadingly. Surely you can separate work and personal life. Of course we can, I said. That's why we're talking now instead of surprising Cynthia later. I wanted her to understand that actions have consequences. You've all spent 23 years assuming Tessa is inferior to your grandchildren. You've ridiculed her, ignored her, and implied she has no future. I stood up and walked over to where Tessa had been sitting. But Tessa never needed your belief in her. She had me. While you were all busy congratulating yourselves on your children's conventional successes, my daughter was building something extraordinary. We didn't know, my mother whispered. You didn't ask, Tessa said simply. Not one of you ever asked me, not once in 23 years, what I was studying, what I was interested in, what I was pursuing. You just assumed. Cynthia's voice turned bitter. So all this time you were just waiting to humiliate us? No, I said firmly. I was simply raising my daughter and building my company. You chose to assume. You chose to be cruel. Those were your decisions, not mine. There was a moment of silence. Finally, my father spoke. What happens now? I picked up my bag. Tessa and I are going home. You will all receive official rejection letters for all 3 applications. Your children are talented enough to find jobs elsewhere. And what about us? My mother asked. The family. I looked around the room at their shocked faces. It's up to you. You can choose to treat Tessa with respect from now on, or you can choose to continue to look down on her. But know that your choice will have natural consequences. Tessa stood beside me, stuffing her tablet into her bag. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We walked together to the door. As I reached for the handle, Cynthia's voice stopped me. I'm sorry. I turned around. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she repeated. I was harsh. I was wrong. I just wanted everyone to see my children succeed. They are succeeding, Tessa said gently. You didn't have to crush me for their sake. We left them sitting amidst the wreckage of their assumptions, Thanksgiving dinner cold on the table. In the car, Tessa finally let out a deep breath. That was exhausting. You handled it perfectly, I said, starting the engine. Did you really set up their requests? The moment they were accepted, I recognized the names. I drove out of the driveway. Did you really record what happened tonight? I confessed. Every family dinner for the past 6 months, just in case we need to document it. I laughed, the sound of my laughter surprising us both. That's my smart, strategic daughter, always 3 steps ahead. I've learned from the best, she said, settling into her seat. As we drove home through the darkened streets, my phone buzzed with messages. Apologies from my mother, anger from Brandon, and desperate pleas from Cynthia about her son's career prospects. I turned off my phone and focused on the road ahead, my wonderful daughter beside me, finally free from the burden of their expectations. They had spent 23 years underestimating her. That was their loss, not ours.
मगर खामोश बस रह गया दर्द का असर, दर्द